Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Mad Capper, and there's another video on Raid Shadow Legends. Just a little announcement before we get onto it. I am moving all my Diablo content to a second channel. I should have done this from the outset. I didn't. That's my stupidity, but we're doing it. So if you do like the content of Diablo Immortal, you can find it on my sister channel, my brother channel, my cousin channel. I don't know what you call it. And I'll leave a link in the description down below. But this is for Raid Shadow Legends, and this is going to be a neat little video that was inspired by Layla Fox Nation. In case you don't know, she's part of my kind of morning coffee routine on days that I'm not immediately on the road or before I hit the road. And absolutely love her. She's an amazing content creator. She mixes just engagement, family friendly, very, very kind individual, fun cosplay, more of a just chatting as much as Raid Shadow Legends, but also does a lot of Raid Shadow Legends, the history of that sort of thing. An amazing person, so check her out. But inspired by her this morning doing 5 champions she wished she didn't upgrade. Instead, I'm going to do 5 champions I did, 5 top tier champions that I built but I no longer use in Raid Shadow Legends. So without further ado, let's get into the top 5 champions, S tier champions that I no longer use. All right, the first one is I'm sorry. The first one is Sir Nick. He was so good. I actually have 2 built. I used him in the clan boss. He was part of the world's first video on an unkillable Ultra Nightmare clan boss team. It was actually a 3-key team, later a 2-key team, but it was the actual first time anyone had put a video on an unkillable team. I cracked that egg. I cracked the code with much help from Murder Inc. But we put that out. I hummed and hawed and finally put out a video. A couple weeks later, there was a Man-Eater video put out. I think Jay Giggs actually had the first one, or someone like that did. But I actually had the first unkillable out there, which was started the channel. And Sir Nick, great in Ice Golem for me, great in Spiders for me. Got me through so much content, probably Potion Dungeons as well. Hits hard, great kit. Overall, still to this day, I mean, his kit is amazing. He's got one of the top shields, especially with mass enemies like Spider. He's got an unkillable on a 4-turn cooldown with a continuous heal, and a 50-50 chance to freeze that is unresistible. So an amazing champion to this day, but just lost his way. I use him in Faction Wars, which, by the way, all these champions, I'm not including Faction Wars because they're so... it's faction specific, right? So it's not really fair to say, you know, well, you use them in Faction Wars, so you still use them, of course. But we're excluding Faction Wars from the use anymore world, and that is the only place I use Sir Nick. I only use one of them. I have 2. I have a +2. I probably at some point will just +3 it because I'm not using 2. I'm not using 1, let alone 2. But number 5 on my list, and nearest and dearest to my heart, is Sir Nick. Number 4 on the list, another Void, and a lot of Void legendaries, oddly enough, on this list, is Blindseer. Blindseer was such an underrated champion. She's so good, especially after she got buffed so she doesn't lose health when she does the Revive Dead and puts block damage on herself. But the shield is amazing. 30% of this champion's max HP. You can get that pretty decently high. On top of it, good speed. She's got a base speed, tops in the game at 115, tied with a couple other champions. And or maybe just one other champion actually. Overall, just an amazing champion, but unfortunately, she seems to be the second best anywhere that I would use her, and so I just used the other champion. I think when I got Duchess on my account, that was a big game changer, a big difference maker. So was Lady Kimmy, and just other areas where I might have used her with Seer comps. There's just better options out there. Lydia, another one. So it just seems like she lost her place with everything. I don't even use her in Faction Wars because, you know, I'm all about the speed runs in that faction. So I just use a whole lot of nuking power. So unfortunately, Blindseer gets lost even there. Still an S tier champion in my opinion. Maybe you could argue an A tier at worst, but just one I don't use anymore. The third on the list is probably the most controversial in my opinion, and that is Tormund. I could arguably probably still use him in 3v3. He's still an amazing S tier champion in 3v3, but I have so many good champions for 3v3 that he just seems to have lost his way on offense and on defense. Definitely could use him, but The reason why I don't is because it seems that most people that use him are sacrificing some sort of something to use him. And for me, I have a team in immunity that can nuke and survive and hit hard, and I have 5 or 6 different champions depending on affinity that I can move in and out. So Tormund doesn't really bother me, and if Tormund doesn't really bother me, I have it in my head that probably it won't bother anyone else either. And so I make the choice to instead ignore that and not go with it. Is it the right choice? I don't know, but it is the choice I've made, so I guess we live with it, right? And that's what I've decided to do. Is instead of trying to fit him into comps, I've just stopped using him. Though admittedly, I think I should probably relook at using Tormund more often in my 3v3 defense. I guess just the fact that 3v3 is so unimportant to me that's probably why Tormund gets the pass. So number 3 on the list, probably one of the best ones of the list, of still currently strong. That's Tormund the Cold. Number 2 on the list, and this one hurts my soul a bit. It's Draco Morph. Draco Morph is one of the best champions in the game. One of the strongest kits in the game. One of the hardest hitting A1s in the game. Has a kit made for clan boss, made for dungeon runs. I do use both of mine in faction wars to speed it to under 1 minute, but I don't use them anywhere else because he is fragile. He's not as good as, say, Lydia for speedruns, especially saying Lydia also includes buffs, which allows me to use seer comps. He doesn't really do much for me in dungeons, and maybe I could use him in Dragon, but honestly, there's just better choices for all the dungeons. He's a little too fragile for Doom Tower outside of when I stop using seer comps, and the one area where he is still triple S tier, top 5 arguably, is the clan boss. But if you had seen one of my previous videos on this, I actually no longer use him in clan boss because of the unique properties of the Demetha, the Myth Air comp, where I use Demetha with Sugar and Brachus, which gives me a better combination of 2 champions and a complementary set. And because of Sugar's aura and the fact that he takes an extra hit each round versus Draco, who actually loses a hit each round or each cycle, I should say, not round, cycle, because this doesn't actually hit, makes that comp better. So the one area where he is triple S tier, I just happen to be using the one comp where I don't even use him there, and it hurts my soul, but he is number 2 on the list, and that's Draco Morph. And before I get to number 1, I want to do some honorable mentions, because there's a couple other champions that I feel don't get used anymore. One of them is Valkyrie. So strong champion, and I still use her in arena when I have to counter very specific needs. The reality is, because I've maxed my Great Hall and because I don't push platinum, I'm not as concerned. A lot of the times, if I have a champion, if there's a team that I need to put in a different comp, I just don't fight that team anymore. So Valkyrie, still have one of them ready to go. I built 2. One is a low resist to disrupt the enemy team, try to get them out of turn order. The one's a very high, accuracy. The other one's a very high accuracy, which is meant to completely steal turn meter from Siffy comps, those sort of things. I still have them geared and ready to go for that. I think that one of the Valkyries I might have changed to be so the immunity one with good, reasonably good accuracy, I should say. And then this one here, actually I've changed her out. You can tell she's in Stalwart now. I was using her in Doom Tower. But she used to be at like 191 accuracy, I think, really trying to just disrupt. But I had them ready forever, and I just don't use them anymore because of that. So that's an honorable mention. I also should, almost honorably mention Salad, Mashaled. However, because of Hydra, he's actually a mainstay for me again. But the number 1, one other one. If it wasn't for the Seer double Kymar comp that I use in the Doom Tower, my second Kymar wouldn't be used. I mean, I literally just have him in a shield set as a reset bot. I don't even think I have masteries on him. You know, like it's crazy. I did have to get the cooldowns here, but to have 2 Kaimars and I only use one of them really seems improper. But again, the focus isn't there for Arena, therefore the use of them is probably very, very muted. I used the other one, you know, put him in immunity, got him nice and fast with some better accuracy. But it's funny that I really only use one outside of the fact, and I don't even have to use Kaimar. I could probably use Renegade. But the number one, and it's near and dear to my heart, and that is Bigen. Bigen is still such a top tier champion, and he was the first true nuker on my team, and he changed everything. I nearly gave up my account. I nearly went, because my alt account way back then, which I've given away a long time ago, had Venus and Martyr as my first 2 legendaries. And as much as I had money synced into this account, I had time and effort synced in this account, I was sitting on, I think, Sethalia was my best at the time. I had Lugan. I had probably had Arbiter, but I didn't have anyone really good. Anyone truly good. And then I got Bigen, and that changed everything. However, with all the champions I have now, I have Ethos now, I have Trunda now, I have a +4 Foley now. Bigen just kind of lost his way. He's number one because he was so game-changing on my account. Pulling Bigen changed everything. He made this account usable. Then I started doing Arena all the time. Started building out my Great Hall from 0 to hero. Bigen, I love the guy. He's probably not the best of the champions I've listed, but he was just so important. Now, I still use him a little bit, which is why it's a bit of a cheat, because I still use him sometimes in Doom Tower because he still has that turn meter disruption. But this is the guy who I used to use everywhere and just lost his way. And you can see he still has 6k attack at 258 crit damage, 219 accuracy, just enough accuracy to hopefully disrupt with this Molten Slag. But such a strong, such a great champion. And unfortunately, when you have Trunda and Ethos, you know, Bigen kind of loses his way, kind of loses his spot, especially for a champion that's a little more fragile. And as much as I love him, I just have to use the better champion. So number one on my list is Bigen. That's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this kind of cheeky top 5. And all it really says is I spent way too much money on this game. But nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me today. As always, be safe, be kind. We'll see you in the next video.